to me because the desire was there. We didn't know about the matrix, and we didn't know about the force then, and we didn't know about the source then. We didn't know those things. We didn't know about 0-point energy. We didn't know those things. But these are the creatures that can help operate and bring those things in place because that's their job. They work on that level. And so let me tell you what happened. So that happened, and my eyes flew open. I jumped up out of my seat, and I ran downstairs to the basement. Jim was down there in the basement, and I sat down there on the steps. And he turned and he looked at me and he said, "So, what's the matter?" I said, "Nothing." And so he said, what is it? So I said, "You're not going to believe this." So I went ahead and I told him what was happening and everything. He looked at me, shook his head. I said, "You don't believe this." So the point is this. 1 week later, 1 week, I was standing at the sink and I was scraping off the dishes to go into the dishwasher. And I said, "What I need is a vegetable brush to clean off the stuff off these plates so I can put them in the dishwasher here. I really I need one of these. I'm tired of this." An hour later, doorbell rings. I open up the door and this man is standing there. "Good evening." I said, "Good evening. I'm your full of brush man." And I said, "Yes." And so he said, "May I show you some of my wares?" Everything he pulled out, I said, "No, no, no, no." And he said, "Well, thank you so much." And so for being such a wonderful lady, let me give you a present. And you guessed it. He pulls out this vegetable brush and presents this to me. I take the brush and I said to myself, synchronicity. This has got to be by accident. This is strictly by chance. I said, "I'm not going to go in here. That's it." And so he then goes ahead. He leaves. I get the brush. And then 2 days later, it came to the weekend. A teacher in my school system and I always would have lunch on weekends. We'd prepare fancy meals and stuff. And it was my turn, and I was going to have these tomatoes, and stuffed tomatoes. And you needed a special kind of tomato so you could put the little points around it and stuff the shrimp salad on the inside. And I kept looking in my head, I need these. Went all over the place, couldn't find these 3 lousy tomatoes. And so Jim comes home from work, and at that time he was working at Andrews Air Force Base as a biochemist. And so he comes in and he says, "You know Gordon, the virologist in our lab?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, he sent you something. And I said, "Well, what could he send me?" So he's got this little paper bag, and he hands me this bag, and I looked inside, and I said, "Oh, no." There were 3 perfect, not 4, not 5, 3 perfect round tomatoes. Not a flaw, not a thing on it. And so I said, think about this. So I said, maybe if I really put my mind to it this time, let's see what would happen. So approximately about a week later, I get hungry. I'm cleaning the house, and I said, "I know I'd like to have a Harley's submarine sandwich." Now, all those from Baltimore know Harley's submarine sandwich. It was the best. I mean, they were that big, and crusty bread and pastrami on the inside, and the onions and the tomatoes and the cheese and everything. It was good. And I'm telling you, I had that in my mind and put it out of my mind. Went about cleaning my house, doorbell rings. Girlfriend across the street comes over. Connie? Yeah. I sent Herb to get me a sandwich. Do you know he went 25 miles into Baltimore and got a Harley sandwich? Nobody's going to be able to eat a Harley sandwich. That's that long. Would you take half of these? I said, I sure will. I sure will. So I took that half, and that made a believer out of me. I'm going to tell you. So while this was going on, I decided I would go ahead and put this to a test. So I invited a group of people who were in Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship at that time to work in a manifestation group with me. And so we'd sit around the dining room table, and we decided then we would try to manifest something positive that we wanted. And you had to make sure that you had somebody that could verify that this is the way it came, and we had everything, you know, done in a very organized way so it would look like we were doing some good research. And my stepfather was in this group, and he didn't believe in anything. And so his job was to be in this group to prove me wrong, okay? So I said, let's take a look at something that you really want, and then we'll work on this for 1 month in manifesting, and then you come back. Well, he had chosen to look for new shoes. He wanted new shoes. He also wanted other things, but he wanted shoes more than he wanted anything else. In that whole process, out of all of them, he manifested the most. Not believing, he manifested the most. When we came back a month later, he kept saying, let me go first. Let me tell everybody what happened. Let me go first. And so I said, okay. He said, well, there's a man across the street became ill. And he said, and his wife came over and said that that her husband was not going to be able to use their shoes. You all know the story. They know Charles. And said, I absolutely cannot keep these shoes because he'll never use them. He'll never walk again, and the whole thing. And would you like to have them? Well, he said, I got not one pair of new shoes. I got 7 pairs of brand new shoes my size. And he said, this made him think that if you can use your thoughts to create something positive, what will happen if you use your thoughts to create something negative? So that frightened him. And then he decided not to come back. He thought that if he ignored the fact that if he thought a thing and it was wrong, that if he just ignored that, that would be the end of that. And that's not the case. It still is ongoing. And what I want to say to you is to be so very, very aware of what's going on in this world that you can keep up with the frequency that is coming into your home and your life. TV, I want to tell you something that Time magazine just said. In a recent survey, in 180 hours of TV programming between 7 and 9 p.m., it was discovered that there were 2,246 instances of violent, profane, and sexual content. 1 every 4.8 minutes between 7 and 9 o'clock. Mainly on Fox TV. You have got to understand that you are proliferating the negativity in your house when you are letting your TV run like that. Those waves are being created. And so I want you to be very, very, very careful on this. There's an old story that talks about the gods that exist. The gods wanted to make sure